with a really very elegant, very, very old woman, like 80. But she's in a beautiful room, it's all looking very elegant. Remember, like we saw him, Midjavan, last night, with the paneling.
Right.
Something very elegant. And she's going to be maybe with a stick, and she's going to tell the story about how she had 7 children, and her life was extremely interesting with her different husbands. And I don't think all 7 should be from the same father. Or do you think it's better all from the same father? It's more unusual all from the same father.
Yeah.
People have 12 children, but they're like from 7 fathers.
Right.
All right. So her life had been very interesting, and she had the 7 children. And she says that having so many children is very interesting in a certain way, but if anybody thinks that having children is creative, it isn't, because they're born how they are, with their talents how they are. And as far as giving pleasure, for the pleasure you get much more anxiety and worry if you measure it out in grams.
That's a big downer right there.
All right,
Nobody's
so
going to watch it.
Okay, so leave that out.
I know that's the message of the program, but
they'll
if you
find
start
it
out
from the
saying
story.
that...
All right, so don't say that.
Yeah.
All right. So then, she's going to sort of lean back and be thinking about what life was like, because where should we start it? Should we start it when she was young, or should we start it when she was married to the South African?
Well, let's just start it consecutive. We can decide to jump around later if we want to.
No, I think you have to decide it now. Because do you want to start it in America?
Yeah.
When she was what age?
College age?
You want to start it that she was in a very aristocratic family that got poor in the Depression? And then that could show back to the 30s.
Yeah.
With her mother. In the 30s, and her mother was like living in a small apartment, or she remembers the big house they had with this garden with the tulips and the flowers and everything. And then they had to move to a poorer neighborhood. And her grandfather died in the Depression, so that's a Depression story.
Right.
If you want to have that in there.
Right. You have a flashback to that.
You flash back to the Depression story when she's a little girl.
So we know that she's seen the change of fortunes once already.
Yes.
As a child.
As a child. And the grandfather died because of the Depression. Her mother complained that her first brother was losing his hair. Because they're living down in the poor thing. Okay. She gets a scholarship to university. And she becomes a dress designer. So then, when she's a dress designer, you can show in New York.
The glamorous life of New York.
In the 50s.
Uh-huh.
So the kind of clothes they wear in the 50s.
Skirt, yeah.
And she becomes...
And it shows her very ambitious and tenacious and talented.
And she becomes one of the first people to make dresses specifically for the young girl, style for young people. And
what were they called? Was there a name for that?
Yes. But I don't remember the name. Judy and Jill.
Uh-huh.
Judy and Joey
Sounds like it.
in New York. Well, then, I married somebody else. You want to leave that out? The first husband, I think you get married to him. It's a long story at the beginning. They want to get quickly to the 7 children, because that's what I thought would be the basis of the whole story.
Okay. So talk about meeting the South African.
Well, she's working in New York, but she was married already to. Can you believe that she was married right after the wedding and everything?
Yeah.
She was married already, but she meets in New York. She meets this man, fabulous, from South Africa, because he seems to her extremely rich and sophisticated, lived on Fifth Avenue. Right? I'm just thinking. Close this thing. I have to call up.
So what happened after you met the South African?
Is it going?
Yeah.
Well, after I met the South African, I decided he was for me. And basically, I think that it's the woman that makes up her mind if she wants the man or not, and then she gets him, because I think most men are pretty sort of, they don't really, I think most men can be had.
Well, that's a biological theory, that it's the female who chooses the mate.
I think it is, basically. Mm-hmm. So that's it. Put it over here. Because we're making this short. Mm-hmm. And then we can go into details.
Yeah, the short summary.
The short summary. I left my job and I told my boss that I was getting married and going to South Africa with my new boyfriend, and his eyebrows shot up and he said, "Oh, I hear that South Africa has diamonds on the headlights instead of light." So I went there and I literally thought I was going to be like Joan Crawford in the movie Rain. And I thought I was going to have tiffin, and there were going to be big storms, and there would be a white hunter with a pith helmet, and tigers and lions and everything exciting, and the plane landed after a ghastly trip for something like 40 hours. And there weren't diamonds on the headlights of the cars. In fact, the first thing I saw was an ad for Coca-Cola. But on the way to South Africa, we stopped in London. And London is where I fell in love. I just had that deja vu feeling about the city. And I thought the men were so nice. And I loved the antiques. I just thought it was gorgeous. And in Africa, I had Cliffy. Now, at this point, should we go into the fact of what Cliffy was like as a child and what it was like in Africa then?
Yeah. What was the reality compared with the fantasy?
The reality was that we rented a house on a street that had no paving. It was the first time in my life I ever saw a street that was made out of mud. And the house we rented was really charming, and it had a very big garden. And it's the first time I realized that flowers have roots, because growing up in New York, the flowers came from the florist. The gardens were for other people. I took Cliffy for a walk down this dusty road that was our street. And I saw an African man walking towards me, and I said to him, "Can you do gardening?" And he said, "Yes, madam." And that was August. His name was August because the first lady he had ever worked for, he started his job in August. What his real name was, I don't know, but his name, as far as I was concerned, was August Chingwalingwalu. And he was wonderful. And he worked for me for all those years that we used to go back and forth to South Africa. Okay, should we do anything? And Cliffy adored August and walked behind him all the time and just thought he was wonderful. And it was the first time I had a white nanny. Well, it was the first time I had a nanny because it was the first child. And I had this lady from England. And I was working with my husband to build up this great business. Because when I married him, he had 10 shops. And it grew into a mega business. And I was designing dresses to be manufactured in South Africa. Should we go on?
Yeah.
To what?
How that life evolved into this.
I had a house full of servants.
Mm-hmm.
And we can have pictures of the house with the servants, with the furniture that was rented.
Rented?
And yes, because I never thought we were going to stay there.
Mm.
I never in my life dreamed that we would have to stay in South Africa. But one day he came home and said, we better look for a house to buy. And so I found Inanda. And then we can go into that great big picture scene.
And having more children?
I had Roger before we bought Inanda. I had Roger down there. And he was not a very strong baby because he needed some small little operation. He cried all the time. I didn't know what to do with him. Anyway, there was something wrong with him that was operated on. And so that was the first time I realized that babies can be problems. But he turned into an absolutely lovely child. He was incredibly neat and tidy. And he never created any problems. You know, he was just easy after the first series of endless crying. Then what? What do you want to do next?
At Cape Gregory?
Oh, well, then we went back to England. No, and after
you went on a tour of Europe.
We went on a tour of Europe. We went to America where we bought merchandise to be sold in Africa because it was the opposite season, so you could buy it all at half price. But I don't think we should go into all that. I think we should go to the fact that we went to America and we closed up the apartment there. And we bought a flat on Eaton Square. We always stayed at Claridge's, so then we can have scenes of Claridge's.
Did you go back with Sydney to close up the New York apartment?
Of course.
And left the children where, in South Africa?
I had them with me with the nanny.
You did?
Yeah.
Who was that, Roger and Clifford?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a big trip in those days, right?
Well, it wasn't like prehistoric.
So you went back all the way to New York to close everything up?
Yeah.
And then back all the way to South Africa?
No, and then I bought the flat in London.
No, you bought the flat in London much later.
Oh, I didn't. Well, let's make it that I bought the flat in London, and that's that. And then we can show London and New York. And that's that. We don't have to keep to the exact what happened.
Okay, so you had a foot in South Africa and a foot in London.
Exactly. And so then you can show Eaton Square, and the apartment was pretty, and you can put in some social life and that kind of thing. And then we go back to have Gregory. And Gregory was a strange birth because he came born with like a rag on his head.
It's called a caul.
A caul. Okay. And he's been in that caul ever since, as far as I... And by this time, should we put in about Sydney going to the psychiatrist all the time?
Had it started by then?
He was going to the psychiatrist when I met him.
Oh, yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
I'm hungry. What do you think? What time is it? Did you have any breakfast?
Yeah, I had some of those crackers.
What do you think?
Have an egg?
Oh. I'd like to go downstairs and let's do it outside.
Wait a second.
Now say what you just said. You say that.
The life in South Africa took off. Sydney became super successful.
Super rich.
Super rich. Victoria used the money to create an extraordinary home at Inanda
With a fabulous
with an
garden.
enormous garden that became famous throughout the country. The family grew to include 7 children, 4 boys and 3 girls. There was a troop of servants maintaining
The garden
idyllic
and the
lifestyle.
house. And the Rolls Royce and everything. And how about he had the argument with his brother, so there was this business underneath all this fabulous life and the mining tycoons for friends and everything. We had the problem of him arguing with his brothers
Over the business.
he had 2 brothers in the business, and they had terrible arguments, and they separated out. Hubert took his interest, so that was a drama of the business.
Right.
Okay,
Pulled the family apart.
yeah. His family. Yeah. And so then what do we do? So we have that episode with the business and the fabulous life in Africa. And then we start with the children doing well in school. Now Roger and Clifford were getting prizes. I used to go to the school functions when they had, what's the day called when they get the awards?
Speech day.
Yeah, they had speech days, and they used to come first in English and in other things. They did very well. And Rod and Gregory, who was so difficult, got a prize for writing the best poem in the whole school, which included, he was very young, and it included boys up to 17 or 18. And that was when Sydney got very interested in starting the psychiatric foundation. And so we were involved, apart from the South African friends. We had the black servants who each had an interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
Like August and Jim. And the cook. Remember Leonard the cook?
Right.
And who was the cook after Leonard, the fat cook? I forget his name, but he was there for a long time. Do you remember his name?
I'll think of it.
Anyway, what was I going to say?
There was also these visiting, in addition to that social circle in South Africa, there were the
And
visiting
working
American
for him as a
psychiatrists.
business and going very frequently back to London and America on these buying trips. And then Sydney got we got the idea that he would hire executives who had retired from very successful businesses in America. So we had the American executives coming out, if you remember them.
Yep.
They used to stay in our guest house in the ground with the wife. And we had to cope with that business. And we can have something funny about some of those American wives that are unbelievable. That woman, there was one who sighed all the time. And then he started the foundation for the study of psychoanalysis because he was constantly, we can have the fact that we spent one Christmas I wanted to spend in America
Vermont.
to show the children a white Christmas. So we went skiing in Vermont when he was having an ordeal with his psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist said to him he didn't want to look after him anymore because he was beyond help. That was very sympathetic, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And by this time, Cliffy was at Eton. And he had done his A-levels. And we were waiting to hear if he could get into Oxford.
Should we close that kitchen door because there's noise coming?
What's it doing? Going back or starting?
It's recording right now.
Oh, it's reversal. And so Cliffy wasn't in the car, and remember remember I was driving to where were we, in Maine?
Cape Town. Oh,
No,
in Vermont.
In Vermont.
Oh.
I was in Vermont, and we nearly
You drove over the icy bridge and nearly
yes, it
swerved off.
skidded, and my knees shook. I've never had such a terrible experience. And then Cliffy got into Oxford, and he came later. Sidney had the problem with the psychiatrist, and that was when Gregory started to go off the rails. It was a really terrible Christmas. It couldn't have been worse. But Janie was so adorable. She had a yellow snowsuit, and she used to go between the legs. Everybody took her skiing. She was about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And she used to stand between the legs, and they took her down, the boys.
Mm-hmm.
That was cute.
And your parents came to visit?
My parents came to visit. That wasn't very pleasant because Sidney wouldn't speak to them. What a terrible time that was. Just ghastly. So what else? What happened after that?
Then the children started to leave to go abroad for school.
Yeah, Roger got prizes and played the piano really beautifully. He wanted to be a classical pianist. And he got prizes at school. And then he said he wanted to go to Eton. This is before we went to Vermont. And Roger and Cliffy were both at Eton. And we lived on Eton Square. We were very Eton-esque. And then what happened?
And Gregory went to Hotchkiss.
Gregory got very neurotic, absolutely unreasonable, and said he wouldn't go to Eton. He said he would run away if I put him in Eton. He didn't want to stay in Johannesburg. He didn't want to do anything. And he wanted to go to Hotchkiss. And I took him there, and that wasn't really a good thing because I think he had LSD and ruined his brains. I think that was the beginning of Gregory going off the rails, wasn't it? So then, when Gregory grew up, we went through a lot of things with him. We tried him with a psychiatrist. He didn't go. He was at Brown University, and he dropped out. He married a very strange woman, got divorced, married another woman who was a cripple, and now doesn't do anything but go to movies and wheel this weird cripple around all the time. We send him money to keep him alive. Ghastly. And then you didn't get into Oxford when you wanted to go to Oxford. You and Willie went to Millfield. So we can show pictures of Millfield, or shouldn't we?
Well, just some rolling English countryside with the school.
Willie was always happy. I didn't realize he was dyslexic. So we went through dyslexia problems. Where did he learn how to type?
I think at Millfield.
I think at Millfield he learned how to type. That was better for him. And then let's make something interesting happen to him.
Well, he had a great time at Nottingham University.
But I would think we should put that in.
And then he became a biochemist.
Yes, he studied science and he became a biochemist.
Mm-hmm.
And he married an American girl who is totally American. So let's make her middle class, New England type.
Right.
Like that woman in The Divorces. You know, the one with her hair?
Uh-huh.
Should we like that? How should we make her? Like the woman in Connecticut.
She's
that you said
interesting
her
because
hair.
she's had like 3 different careers. She's a real goer. She's very energetic.
I don't want to tell the truth. I just want to make it interesting.
Okay.
I think she would be like the really perfectionist American, New England American. No.
That's Elizabeth.
All right. So what's she?
Well, Lisa was more
Artistic, creative? No.
yeah, she was a designer.
What I think is the most characteristic, strange thing to me is once she was here and I said, what do you like? And I'll leave it to you in the will, you know?
Right.
And she said, I don't like things. I don't want things, and I don't like things. Which is completely alien to my way of thinking.
Yeah.
I think I like things better than people. So figure.
So have a conflict there between you and that woman.
Yeah.
There's a conflict that it looks like Willie's been sort of co-opted into this totally American suburban life
Yeah.
by this woman who's totally unappreciative of everything that you stand for, that you've spent your life
Yes,
building
so
up.
all right. So I can have a thing.
So have a thing where Willie is sort of funny and charming, and you love to see him, but this woman sort of co-opts him.
When I went to see, she had a baby, her first baby. She wouldn't let me pick her up because she thought I had germs.
Yeah.
She's crazy.
She's relaxed since then, thank God.
Yeah, can you believe it? She let her little boy go to California all on his own. He's in Nevada or something.
I know, and Charlotte went to,
Costa Rica, and
Costa
she
Rica.
loved it.
yeah, she cried. She missed her friend so much.
She loved that mother. She stayed with a woman who was theoretically the mother for a while she was
Yeah,
there.
a host family they call
Yeah.
it.
She called it her mother and father, and so she keeps talking about her mother. All right, so that's that fixed.
All right.
And then Cliffy marries Elizabeth, who's the perfectionist, and always in a flap. Terribly busy all the
The
time.
Upper East Side, sort of
Social life.
inside a New York social life. On the surface, the perfect existence with the chauffeured car and the private schools and beautiful apartment, and then
Should they get a divorce
bankruptcy. No.
or the bankruptcy? Did we say he got rich? Did we
No.
say that Cliffy got fabulously rich? He built up this great business and he had a yacht.
by being the samurai raider, company raider, and all
Yeah.
that.
Anyway, no, LBO, whatever
He
the
rich
business
by,
was, he got terribly. And he lost everything. And she bought horses to make her children go into the horse shows.
Right.
She paid for the horses. Did you know that? She bought the horses. They're impoverished, but they go to the horse shows because she wants her daughter to make a good connection socially. Are you coming in here to clean the garden? I think it looks much better. Oh, yeah. It looks much better.
What is the hook of this program? The contrast between the family that starts out with this wildly successful, pioneering retailer in South Africa, who's one of the most brilliant minds of his generation, star of his class, wins all these businessmen of the year awards, is hired by the government to help rewrite the whole tax system in South Africa, on the boards of all the major corporations, founder and chairman of the Tree Society, a great horseman, develops an enormous ranch of thousands of acres, tries to do the most progressive farming methods in the country, even buys racehorses and wins the most prestigious race of the year. Huge achievement, huge splendor, huge
Fantastic architect,
jet set.
Italian architect, and build a big mansion.
great
at the park.
architect, yeah. Has a
Fabulous house on the sea,
summer house,
on the Indian Ocean.
entertains the height of South African society, is known in the newspapers, and through his stores his name is recognized all over the country, owns an apartment in the most fashionable district of London, travels regularly to New York, and safaris in Botswana, etc. The children are raised with access to the best schools in South Africa and abroad, best universities. The mother is
Oxford, Cambridge.
extremely attractive, scintillating woman. Johannesburg has never seen anyone like it.
Yes.
Bye, Miss Fred.
Bye,
Bye,
Santa.
Diana.
Bye, Diana.
See you
Thank
soon.
you.
And so the story can bring the viewer into that network of
Servants. Servants.
mining tycoons and servants and the good life in apartheid South Africa.
And we can put in something about the unfortunate things that happened to some of the blacks.
Yeah, follow the stories of some of the servants that the press children get close to.
Like Ningi with the hip.
Ningi, August's son, they try to assist him in various ways
Goes wayward.
and start a school for the black children on the farm. You want to show, like, once one of those black gardeners made a pass at Suzanne,
Did he?
tried to write her love letters.
Really?
Yeah,
That I never knew.
yeah.
Oh, you can put that in. That's
It was
exciting.
sort of scary.
Why don't you get her
But you
raped?
have to show.
Why doesn't she
You
get
have to
raped?
show an interracial love affair.
Yes, let her get raped.
She gets raped. The parents want to prosecute at the same time.
No, they
Some of their
couldn't
most trusted servants are implicated, and they don't know who to believe, who to trust, what to do.
She never told me that.
No.
It's a good story. Get her raped.
Yep.
What else? I'm getting some more soup.
The mother has to have a love affair with somebody.
No, the mother doesn't have one.
Yes,
All
that's
right.
all the juicier.
Okay.
And
Oh, you got all the
then there's going to be a love affair between the mother and the architect. And what does the husband do? Find out or not find
Has
out?
the argument with his brothers. And
Yeah.
that big crisis of the business.
Right. And he has constant threats of takeovers and debates whether to expand into Rhodesia, Zimbabwe, or
England he expanded
and dealing
into.
with,
He
and
expands
he does
into England.
expand in England, but he's dealing with fierce competitors and bribery and corruption between the secretaries,
Yeah,
trying to spy on each other's business,
yeah,
threatened corporate takeovers.
yeah,
He strengthens his stronghold by
yeah. He
putting
starts
more
to deal-
shares in the hands of his what he thinks is his friend, but lo and behold, when the time comes, that friend
We get the
sells
heart
out.
attack.
Yeah,
Give him the heart attack already.
he's going to
Did we
have
finish
a
with
triple
the children?
bypass operation. And at that moment when he travels to America for surgery, his business is taken over by South African breweries, and his friend sells out all his shares.
The business got taken over. We did Cliffy. We did Cliffy.
But you didn't do Clifford fighting Sydney over the divorce. Are you going to put that in?
Yeah. Put a PS with Cliffy.
Which phone is that?
Suzanne.
Oh. So the father goes for surgery, his business gets taken over, and at the same time it's revealed that he has a mistress, so he and the wife get divorced. And
After
a
she has her
big,
face lifted.
yeah, she gets her face lifted to try to save the marriage, but he's adamant.
He had mental breakdown when he had his heart surgery. It made him crazy.
He couldn't cope, decides to leave her. A big battle over the estate follows.
With her son helping her.
The
and
oldest
he
son
fights
helps
with-
her,
And fights with his brother, the father.
fights with the father, takes the whole family trust under his control.
Yeah.
The father becomes a man of straw. And the family is totally disrupted. Nobody has peace of mind knowing that all this fighting is going on.
Okay, that's enough. Now what is the rest of the hook? The children, so do Roger. He wants to be Roger is marvelous in school.
Gifted,
he gets a music scholarship to
musician.
Oxford. He gets a music scholarship to Oxford. He becomes a classical pianist. He gets on drugs in New York. He got a girl pregnant.
Are you sure about that?
I'm positive. He got a girl pregnant. She had an abortion. And he becomes horribly depressed. And he meets Tam.
No, first he goes to Los Angeles to study with a special Russian pianist.
Yeah.
And then he decides to come back to London.
Yeah.
And he's working hard at the music. Then he meets an American woman.
Tam.
Right.
And she is very domineering. She takes him over. And she convinces him to give up the piano. And becomes...
He goes to business school at INSEAD in Paris.
What happens to him in Paris?
He gets his...
No, but there's something interesting. Make a hook in there.
He speaks perfect French because he used to...
That's not the point. Something has to happen to him in Paris so they can show the Eiffel Tower and everything.
A love affair.
With a man. How about that? Love affair with a man. Another student from Cairo.
Mm-hmm.
Meantime, she gets hold of him.
Straightens him out.
Straightens him out. She becomes... You can't make it... We don't want to tell the truth about all these things that people should suspect.
Mm-hmm.
She becomes a terrific businesswoman in some business. Like Sidney in this story can't be restored because people will know who it is. He becomes a terrific magnate in the mines.
Mining.
Yeah, mining. No story. Don't make it that anybody could possibly recognize anything like that with us.
They will.
How?
Come on, Bix. How many rich, successful South Africans are there with 7 children who leave the country?
Must be more than one. I can tell you that rich South African Donnie Gordon, you know that louse, he got knighted. He befriended.
what?
I'll tell you. There's some lady, somebody, I forget her name. She's very friendly with everybody. You know, she's a very aristocratic family. Married to a lord somebody. Lord, not sir. So she's...
The inherited title.
He has so much money you can't imagine. He got friendly with her. He wanted to divorce his wife, but this woman told him, don't divorce your wife because he wants a title. And she made him give $55 million to Covent Garden, the opera house. And he is now Sir Donald Gordon.
Oh, how
He's
revolting.
separated from the wife. He actually slept with that woman. Could you imagine? He's such a revolting man. He slept with her. And he's a sir. And she's a lady, the wife. So he didn't marry her. I mean, he's separated from her. They don't live together. But now she's Lady Gordon. Can you imagine?
Is he living with that other lady?
I think they all live different. That lady lives with her husband, the Lord. But he must have a fancy apartment where she goes with him.
Mm.
And his wife has an apartment here.
Well, how awful.
Awful.
That's really cheapening the knighting of the queen. She shouldn't give it to people
They
like
give
that.
it, now, you know, they got rid of the lords practically. You don't get to be a lord by appointment. You don't They want to take away the inherited lords. Can't go to the lords. I mean, it's
Can't
just
go to the House of Lords. Yeah.
Anyway, what happened to Donnie Gordon? We can make that happen to Sydney.
He gets knighted.
Befriends this lady.
Oh yeah, a rich lady in
She's
England.
not rich. She's just a type. She's very aristocratic, but
But she's married to a rich man.
He's not rich. He's only noble. He's got a lord, but he's not rich. Would she want to sleep with Donnie? She doesn't sleep with him because she likes him. She sleeps with him because he gives her money.
You said her own husband was rich beyond belief.
No, Donnie
You
is
meant
rich
Donnie.
beyond belief.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you hear good.
You didn't explain good.
I explained perfectly.
Okay.
He is so rich.
She's in it for the money and he's in it for the title.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Well,
they don't
Sydney
get
wouldn't
divorced.
have done that.
And he would have. Oh. Listen, let's not get into what Sydney did. But they don't get divorced.
Right. Because divorcees are not eligible.
It's much less eligible.
Right.
All right, so what do we do with Roger now? He has the affair with the homosexual man. Didn't like it, came back to town. She becomes a very big-time businesswoman working for Harry.
What
She's
does
in
Roger
the dress
become?
business. He becomes a second-rate businessman.
Why make him second rate?
What he is?
No, it's a story we're making now.
Yeah, well, he can't all get rich. He becomes like a house husband for her.
Mm-hmm.
He pretty much is.
Bring what?
I said he pretty much is.
Well,
You know what a house husband is?
he works really hard.
I'm not telling a true story. I want to make a thing that's for himself.
So that's going to be how that particular kid is like written off because the bossy wife takes him over. I don't. Okay.
I love this. Is it taking the thing? Is it
Yeah, everything's being recorded.
All right.
I've got to type it up.
So that's him.
Yeah.
Gregory, we have him with the cripple. Does he come back and murder anybody?
Attempts. Because remember he stole your jewelry and everything?
Mm-hmm.
You have to have something dramatic that he feels he's been wrongfully disinherited. Because first he does all wacky
He stole the
behavior.
diamond.
Excuse me, can I put the lunch in the plates? Mushrooms, broccoli, and beans.
I don't want.
Okay?
You have to have Gregory do some really crazy things, which makes the family
He
disinherited.
comes to visit me.
So out of revenge, he does them
Diamond.
wrong.
He steals
Then
the
when
diamond.
one of the brothers tries to track him down, he tries to kill them.
Right.
Something like
Are
that.
you taking it?
Mm.
So that's fine. Then who?
So he gets sent back, instead of going to jail, they put him in a psychiatric hospital in South Africa where he meets another crazy
person.
lady. He helps her to escape. That's pretty
Yeah.
exciting. And they escape and run away. Do you want to put in that they make a baby that gets
Yes.
taken away? It's heartbreaking because they have some moments of great warmth and togetherness with this baby, but they continue to act irrationally and the baby's taken away. And it's hard. And the
My
whole-
Jews.
Yeah, he's advised to give the baby to the Jewish agency because they'll be more understanding, but it turns out they're not. And they give the
stole
baby to a very, Hasidic rabbi who's a, extremist.
Taken over by Arabs.
Oh, God. All right, have him be given to fundamentalist Arabs. Are there any in South Africa? Afrikaners that bring him up as his big
Leave
Calvin.
the Jews.
Okay.
When we can.
And so, and then Gregory goes crazy a second time driven mad by having his child,
And that's when
Taken
he steals
away.
the diamond.
and he thinks he can, if he has money to pay a lawyer, he could get his child back. Yeah, that's what motivates him
No.
to go and steal the diamond.
Who's the stealing?
Well, you got it in the thing, got to give a motivation.
He's crazy. All right.
Well, anyway, it creates a drama to have him try to get his child back.
Did I give her the check?
I didn't see. See if it's in your book.
No. Well, must have given it to her.
I heard you asking her how much.
Well, then I must have given it to her.
All right.
All right, so that's finished.
Okay, that's Gregory. Then Caroline. Could you just leave me out?
Well, then I'll make it 6 children. But it doesn't have to be you.
Right. Okay, so then there's a daughter who starts out fairly promising. And
Oh,
then
marvelous ballerina.
ballet.
She got accepted already in the school of Covent Garden to do ballet.
Right.
She was almost getting to the top. She got into the corps de ballet. She was wonderful. And they all think she's marvelous, and it shows with the applause and bowing and everything. And she breaks a leg. Oh. She will never dance again. She goes into a nervous breakdown, eats and gets
Just like that for you, yeah?
That's lovely.
Thanks, Fatima.
How about
That
and then
looks
she gets
great.
a nervous breakdown?
Yeah.
Tea?
Yeah, I'd love some tea.
Little tea. My leg is feeling better finally.
Good.
Good.
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
She can barely drag herself up in the morning
Yeah.
and find a new purpose in life.
Doesn't find one. How about she commits suicide?
Yeah.
You want to do that? Or do you meet somebody Japanese who takes you off to Oriental whorehouse?
Whorehouse.
Yeah. Put you up for sale there. You broke your leg. Is it going?
Yeah.
You broke your leg. You'll never dance again. You get miserable. You have a nervous breakdown. You eat a lot of sweets and you get fat. And somehow, who did you meet? You meet a nice, you don't
Japanese
know.
guy.
No, you met a man who made you turn into a pimp. And he sells you to a Japanese pimp. And you run away. And you get to northern Japan, where there's this wonderful, kind scholar who is a
Living national treasure.
living national treasure, making what?
Pottery.
Pottery.
A special ancient technique.
Yeah. And then with him, you find yourself, and you're happy, and you have about 7 or 12 little tiny Japanese children.
Not that many.
7. No. 2. No.
2 is enough.
5. A lot. Let's make a big family. 5 little Japanese cute children with little pigtails and everything. And then what happens?
After that, then Suzanne.
Doesn't it interconnect to Suzanne? Suzanne, in the meantime, has
Is
got,
a real freedom fighter in South Africa. A real
she becomes
political.
very left-wing. Her father is very right-wing.
And she decides to fly in the face of all that establishment
Yeah.
and support the blacks against the whites.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, what happens to her?
She got raped by a nigger. Hello? Turn it off.
We're telling your story. Say that again.
She was raped by the nigger. She changed her political. I don't say nigger. She got raped by the gardener. And,
Black gardener.
Black gardener. And she got so frightened and embittered and struck and all that, that she changed her political point of view. And she became extremely right-wing. And she married an Afrikaner.
Ugh. What fate could be worse?
Very good looking, and he had a big farm for mealies in the Karoo,
Free
near the
State.
Karoo, in the Free State. Okay, and then we can show all the
The
Free
most
State.
godforsaken part of South Africa.
No, it's nice. It's someplace where there's great big fields of corn. It'll be pretty.
Mealies.
Or where would there be?
But then she gets sidetracked by this priest who she's kind of half in love with. And he persuades her to join the nunnery and do good works.
The Carmelites. Carmelites.
Okay. And she forsakes the farmer and the farm
And she travels all over
for this
Africa.
good cause.
She
And
travels
she
all over
becomes,
Africa.
you know,
She becomes like
like Saint
saint.
Teresa,
Yes.
saving the
Feeding all
starving
the
millions,
millions
and has to go in Angola where she could be blown up by a landmine at any minute. All these
Plus
people
in
with
Zimbabwe, where
amputated
they
limbs.
all those places. So, all right, so that's that.
So
Who's the
that
next
gives you a
person?
good dose of Africa to film.
Yes. And then
You forgot Willie. Oh, we
We
sort of
did.
talked about Willie. Now Jay,
what did we do with Willie?
you made him
Married
be
this
with
girl
the
who was very
American wife who doesn't like things.
You call me?
You want me to call? Maybe, Suzanne, to make the interrelation, when Janie had her year off, was maybe when Janie went to Japan because she had the year off, and Suzanne was having a nervous breakdown. So
No, Caroline was.
yeah. So Caroline was having this. Yeah, so you met Jane.
So it can hook up there.
You hooked up with Jane, who was having her year off. Maybe you not leave out
And
the-
Janie was
And
having an
Janie.
affair with this big black American guy.
Why would you?
She
do
met
that?
in a youth hostel. She did.
Did she?
She didn't have an affair, but he was crazy about her.
You sure? They've got very big dicks, I've been told. I never experimented with a black one.
All right, so Jane goes for her year off.
And you meet her there. And that's when you meet that man that's the,
The nice one. Hokkaido is in the north. Hokkaido.
well, wherever he was making the pottery. You have to find out from Jane where they make pottery. Okay. So where are we in this thing?
Jane. She's gone to St. Paul's in Oxford.
Yeah, so let's change it to Cambridge or something else. You know.
Okay, Cambridge.
Maybe she went to the Sorbonne. She went to the Sorbonne in France, where she meets a French count, and she becomes a countess with this fabulous chateau in the
Loire Valley.
yeah, somewhere.
Yeah.
But what happens?
The Count's family have a skeleton in the closet.
They're crazy. There's a crazy Jew, and she gives birth to a child who is like abnormal. And what happens?
No, have it that there's been some murder
Where?
in that
In the
in that chateau,
While
and
she's
it's all
there.
very haunted and spooky, and she can't figure out why. Like that
And
story,
she's so
Rebecca.
nervous in that gorgeous place.
And she loves this count, and everything seems nice, but she can never settle in there. There's some weird, late at night the door blows open and
yeah,
there's no
the
wind.
overhanging bad feeling.
Creaking, and there's all sorts of
Screaming.
weird things. And
Sound.
his parents are nice to her, but not really nice, and she can never get to connect to them. And he'll never talk about his past, his childhood. There's a big mystery surrounding this man and his family.
Maybe he had a brother that was murdered.
No, they find out that he had a wife in the attic.
Who? No, that's too much like that other story. No, you're too boring.
Yeah, there's a brother that was murdered, and they think that the father did it. But the family are all
Hiding it.
They refuse to talk or give any clues to the police. So it's an unsolved murder for the past 20 years, and nobody will talk because they're protecting the father. Or who? Who are they protecting?
The father.
Or
The grandfather.
old nurse of the family, or who?
The grandfather.
The grandfather. And why did the grandfather do it? Because in the war, he was accused of being a Jew, but meanwhile, deep down, he's an anti-Semite. And the grandson found out that he was a collaborator, and he didn't want it to
like
get
the
out.
story we saw. That's
So what?
Yesterday's movie.
So what?
Other people saw yesterday's movie.
No, he doesn't want it to get out. He's a politician in France, and he doesn't want it to get out that he was a collaborator. It would ruin his career. But the grandson goes sniffing around in the papers because he's suspicious, and he's a kind of do-gooder type.
Yeah.
So he finds it out and he confronts the grandfather, and the grandfather is about to have an election in his district.
And he stabs him.
And meanwhile, the press have been trying to hound him anyway, and he's had it. He's at his limit dealing with all these
Stabs
questions.
him and shoves him in the
Shoves him in the basement, in the cellar.
in the hidden staircase.
And then Jane finds it out, and she's like going crazy. Should she tell or shouldn't she tell?
No, don't tell, just leave.
She flees the castle, but she's
The
pregnant.
chateau.
But she's pregnant,
Oh, God.
and have her go on some ocean liner somewhere and meet a man who decides to love her, even though she's carrying another man's baby.
Maybe she'll lose it.
Hi.
Hello. You want to take him for a walk? Well, it should be interesting that you want to see it every Thursday night or whatever.
It has to all connect back to the rest of the family.
Recording.
Yes.
Oh, famous. I'm in the recording.
Children always want to be famous these days. That never would occur to you when you were little, did it?
To be a
11 years old
celebrity
to be
now.
a celebrity. It's a really bad
It's a
thought.
cult of celebrity now.
And I don't think people that are celebrities are very nice.
Hmm.
Don't you want a knife and fork instead of dripping it down your chin? Go get a plate, a knife, and a fork.
All right. Think of what's next.
I don't think there's anything next.
Vex. You got to tie it all together, that all the different elements are all linked.
Well, I forget the different elements that there are. You turned it off.
No, it's on.
Didn't the father die, or what happened to him? They had a big party when he got to be with the ennobled. When he got his title, they had a big party.
You have to tell the whole story of the father becoming a noble. That
We did do that.
No, but it wasn't taped. That Donnie Gordon story. It wasn't taped.
Oh. So where did we get to with the father?
Then he had the heart operation, and his business was sold out from under him, and he had a mistress and he got divorced.
No, but then we said we leave that all out. No thanks. Leave that all out. And just make him that he gets in his business problem, but he got in with this lady.
Jeffers.
Yeah, Lady Albemarle, and she is very influential with business people, and she introduced him to the head of another business where he made another fortune. He gave $125 million to the hospitals. We don't do it to the ballet.
Right.
To the hospitals. In which museum? And he bought a Titian at the
Science Museum.
No, how about there was a Titian going in the sale room,
And he saved it for the country.
and he saved it for the country. For I forget how many millions.
And he's
besides.
having an affair with this lady Albemarle, who advises him not to get a divorce so she can promote him for a lordship
Yeah, a title,
title.
which she did. After he gave all that money to the hospital for the poor. I don't think you can give it to the hospitals because the hospitals are nationalized. It's all government.
Oh, they must take charities.
No. You can give it like for the cancer fund or something. How about for education? He gives another college to Cambridge.
Uh-huh.
And who was working in Cambridge? Anybody that we had intellectual?
We had Jane going to Cambridge.
No, but isn't there anybody that's intellectual as a teacher there or something? Could anybody in that family, could Roger become a music professor at Cambridge?
pastoral advice, Fatima needs to write a letter